Welcome overboard. This is the first line in Genesis. According to the Interlinear Bible, and on the left you have the English, and on the right you have the Hebrew. Now, you may not have noticed, but there is something missing in the English, and that is the Alef Tav. They don't even put a Strong's number on it. So let's find out what this is. And here it is. Strong's numbers 853. The untranslatable mark of the accusative. Not going to read all of this. It's a sort of placeholder. And therefore they don't translate it. Now, I've only been able to find one translation in English that includes this Alef Tav, and that is the Eth Sefer. Now, in the preface, they write this: one Ivrit, which means Hebrew, word which has escaped translation in all English texts is the word Eth, which is spelled in the Ivrit as Alef Tav. The Alef is the ox head, the symbol of strength, and is often construed as a crown of leadership. And the Tav, an X or a cross, means the mark or sign or covenant. The Alef Tav combination stands 9,501 times in the Ivrit Tanakh, Old Testament, and 518 times in the Brit Kadesh, New Testament. Ivrit translation from the Greek Textus Recepticus. And does so in each instance without the benefit of translation. It is our election, therefore, to include all of the Alef Tavs that show up in the text, in the Tanakh, and the 518 times the Alef Tav show up in the Ivrit translation of the Greek Textus Recepticus. In the text of the Brit Kadesh, without benefit of direct translation. For example, in the beginning, Elohim created Eth, the heavens, and Eth, the earth. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Eth, Elohim, and Elohim was the Word. Now that's interesting. At least I find it interesting. Did you know that the Alef Tav are the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet? Sort of like A to Z, or Alpha Omega. Gee, I wonder where I've heard that before. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Gee whiz, he even reiterates it here. He says it twice. Here's something else to consider. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Now, why do I bring that up? Because it says here, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Now, how did he say anything if he hadn't already created words? But of course, you need to have sound as well in order to pronounce those words. And I'd like to draw your attention to this thing called sonoluminescence, or a star in a jar. Yeah, a scientist named Seth Putterman wrote an article about how if you bombard water in a test tube with certain frequencies, it collapses in on itself and creates light. Enough energy to equal the sun, apparently. And then we have cymatics, which proves we can manipulate matter with sound. Now, I know this isn't part of the 66 book canon, but at the beginning of Jubilees, it's talking about how the very first day all these spirits were created, and spirits for heavens and earths and rain, and I'm just going to put this here so that you see that other people have thought there was much more going on that first day. Set aside all the spiritual stuff, and you still have to explain the physical aspects of creating a thing. In order to create something, you need a plan, a set of blueprints stating the dimensions of the object being created. These blueprints would have instructions on assembly and maintenance and would inevitably tell the purpose of the creation. I think there is more to the Hebrew alphabet than most people understand. Every letter has a meaning and even tells a story. I'm not going to go too deep into this here. This subject will take a lot of study, but it is being proposed that if you can read the story of each letter in order, you would tell the history of all of existence from beginning to end. There are even some who would suggest that if you can pronounce all of the letters in a single word, all of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet in a single word, you will have spoken the Creator's true name and will ascend to heaven. Aya, Asha, Aya. I am that I am. Aya can also be translated as I will be. So if you think about it, it could be I am that I am. I will be that I am. I am what I will be. Or I will be what I will to be. Before you can begin, there has to be the will to start it. Our Creator had to define his own parameters. He had to say, I will be this tall, this wide, this long. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. All. All means all. All things. Therefore, what sets our Elohim apart from all the other Elohim is that he had created himself. It says right here, I am the Alef Tav. I am the Alpha Omega. Then we go back to the beginning. Elohim created the Alef Tav, the Alpha Omega. He created himself. In the beginning was the Word. Now that word is logos in Greek. That's where we get our English word logic from. So like law, boundaries within which existence is possible, our Creator had to draw a line somewhere in order to create. This far, no further. He had to decide the boundaries and mechanics of existence and how it would all work. If we reach outside of this Alef Tav, we reach outside of what makes existence possible. Adam was made in his image, and we are his children. We have the power to create light with sound, mimicking how our Creator created light. We also have the ability to affect creation. Sin brings death. Sin is transgression of the law. Clearly, Yah did not create us to be a bunch of puppets, or we would not have free will. Therefore, heaven is not a place where we cannot sin. Heaven is a place where we choose not to sin, where we all abide in the sound of his word, which is the instructions of the law, where no longer worshiping through tradition the light, which is part of creation, where we all worship in truth, Yahuwah. We must remember that the light we create casts shadows. It is only when we see the world through the Word that we can see it as it truly is. So the Alef Tav is far more than the untranslatable mark of the accusative. It is a reference to our Creator and His Word, our instructions for living a set-apart life, the dimensions and parameters needed to maintain a perfect creation where we can all live in harmony. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth.